Fascism in India, a comparative study of Arthashastra and Manusmriti. So I invite Comrade Shankar to deliver the speech on the subject. Please, Comrade Shankar.
Okay. Comrade Kabir, is it audible? The sound is coming.
Yes,
Sound
yes.
is okay. Okay. Thank you, Comrade Kabir. Uh, Comrades and friends, mm, today we are going to discuss regarding that Manusmriti, and not only just Manusmriti, because you know that Manusmriti we discussed 2 years back in detail, and our detailed pamphlet was also published by our party, CPIML Red Star, on Manusmriti. What is Manusmriti? Who wrote it? What is the time of Manusmriti? And what is the content of Manusmriti? All these things we discussed at that time at length when we discussed Manusmriti as such. But today uh, we are going to discuss that how uh, a fascist force like RSS and BJP uh, could come out from the Indian soil, and how Monoism played the ideological root historically of this force, RSS BJP force, RSS BJP, and uh, and to discuss this, to present this, that how Monoism played historically the root or the basis, ideological root of fascism of today's India. We are taking a subject that is a comparative study between Kautilya's Arthashastra and Monoism, Manusmriti. This comparison we will present very briefly before you. And we have our problem also, that the problem is that I was searching for a reference, that if there is any work done by the Marxist from a Marxist perspective or Marxist point of view, this comparison between Arthashastra of Kautilya and Manusmriti, whether it is done or not, but I could not find it. I don't know whether any Marxist party or Marxist individual or in academic circle from Marxist point of view, whether this type of comparison uh, at all taken up or done or not. I don't know. So we are studying this subject. We are studying this subject because you know that to understand deeply Indian fascism, the corporate saffron fascism or Brahministic fascism today, to understand their nature, their emergence, and their historical root, all these aspects we are studying deeply. So, as a part of this study, we have taken up this study also, that are comparison between Arthashastra and Manusmriti. The subject is a difficult subject, and there is no reference also we are getting, so we have to do it by our own effort. So that is also one of limitation. I know that many limitation, that study is limited and there are many limitations are there, and we have just started the study because the study needs a lot of time also, and a lot of efforts and a collective effort is required for that. So in future, many able comrades will be interested and will come to take up this subject, I hope. And then only a full-fledged study can be prepared and presented before you. By this time, we have just started it. Please take it as a starting point, so that to understand, we can understand the character of Indian fascism, and their historical root, especially their ideological root of is which is Monoism. Comrades, actually, when you know that from 2014, after this BJP government came to the power, the question of fascism is being discussed. And today, this is one of the important questions and subjects of debate, discussion, yeah, even difference of opinion within the communist circle and the revolutionary circle. So, according to our opinion, there are two type of misconceptions on fascism as such in Indian perspective that is prevailing. One misconception is that fascism is not at all established in India. This is a process, but fascism not yet established in India. So this is one type of opinion still is there among the communist revolutionary circle and the communist circle. This opinion is there. We think that this is one of the misconceptions regarding fascism. And the second misconception is that sometimes people are projecting that all ruling classes or all ruling class parties are fascist. So this type of that is another misconception. So that is second misconception is there. So these two main misconceptions we are dealing today, and to deal with these subjects, we need to understand Indian fascism more deeply. So you know that according to our opinion, uh, fascism in India, in everywhere, wherever fascism is established, or any system, or any particular type of ruling class, or a type of rule, or a system of capitalism, special stage of capitalism, whatever. Uh, Establishment of something is not an overnight process. There is a process, and today fascism is growing in every day, every passing day, fascism is growing. That is according to Dimitrov. Dimitrov said very correctly that when fascism is growing, take up the fascism, and full-fledged fight against fascism is required. So, whether fascism is 80% or 85% or a 90% or 100%, that is some sort of academic discussion for us. The academics may discuss, but we people, those who are working in the practical politics, we have to fight full-fledgedly, wholeheartedly against fascism, whether it is 80% or 85% or 90% or 100%. So there is no difference reflected in our job, in our task. So that is why this question is basically an academic one. That is why we are taking this thing granted that we have to fight fascism full-fledgedly, and the anti-fascist struggle is the main struggle today in front of the communist, democratic, and the revolutionary forces in India. Secondly, from this second point, we will go to the core subject of our discussion today. That secondly, all ruling class parties mm, are not fascist. BJP and RSS, they these political forces, they have converted to a fascist force. You know, so why? The question is why. There are many parties. Even in the ruling class, you will see there are many ruling class parties. But how and why BJP RSS, they have converted to a fascist force? What components they have? What is the political elements they have? So searching these things, their political elements, their political history, then we can find that their basis is Brahminism. Their basis is monoism. And this monoism and Brahminism, if you study their historical upsurge, then you will find many similarities. Uh, I am not saying that fascism is a modern concept. Fascism is the phenomena which can take place today's world in the time of capitalism and the matured capitalism, or you can say the high stage of capitalism. Fascism can take place. But if you go through or study the history of monoism, the history of Brahminism in India, you will find many similarities with fascism, with their history. So historically, they are inheriting the qualities of fascism, the many components of fascism, they are inheriting from the long back. So to study this thing or to understand this thing, we are having a comparative study between Arthashastra of Kautilya and Manusmriti. So from here we are entering into our subject today, where we want to emphasize that in India the Marxists never did it or never said it or never noticed it. This is first time B.R. Ambedkar he said it, and he elaborated it, and he wrote a book on this subject. He wrote a very fantastic book, that is Revolution and Counter Revolution in Ancient India. When he studied the Indian history and Indian philosophy, Indian history, he noticed that their monoism was basically a counter revolution in India. According to him, the upsurge of Buddhism was a revolution in India, and monoism was a counter revolution in India. And the age of counter revolution was started from the time of Monu, which continues today. So this was the concept of Ambedkar. We can say that that there are a lot of merits in this observation. Uh, how monoism acted or played a role of counter revolution, if you compare the Arthashastra of Kautilya and Manusmriti, then you can very clearly you can understand that how Manusmriti it played the role of counter revolution, or played the basis of counter revolution in India. So, which have many similarities with today's fascism. Many components. Say one is the let us start the discussion. Let us take one point. First point. Say what Dimitrov said. Dimitrov said that the fascism. What is fascism? Fascism is the rule of most reactionary section of finance capital. But definitely, you can understand that 2000 years back, or 2500 years back, safely you say that 2000 years back, there is no finance capital in India. But you can understand from the comparison between Arthashastra and Manusmriti that Manusmriti actually that was a rule of most reactionary section of the ruling class. If I go through Arthashastra, it is saying in Arthashastra, say the society was clearly divided in two: Aryas of the four Varnas and the non-Aryas. That is, those outside the pale. An Arya could never be treated as a slave. So, Arthashastra Kautilyan system is also a ruling class system. Kautilyan system is also an oppressive one, and at the same time, Kautilyan system based on extraction of surplus, and based on there is a divided. The society was divided between rich and poor, and surplus was concentrated in the hand of few. That is, everything is very much correct and true as far as the Kautilyan system is concerned. But Kautilyan system based on a ruling class, that ruling class was the whole Aryan people. No Aryan could be slave. So this was the system of Kautilyan system. And when you go to the Manu, that age difference, you know, that Chandragupta Maurya came to the power around 324 BCE. And Manu's time, we can have safely 200 BCE to 200 CE. But actually, according to B.R. Ambedkar, this was associated to Pushyamitra Shunga. That is around 173 BCE. So not very much time gap is not longer. So from 300 to 324 BCE to 173 BCE within a very short time, within 150 or 200 years, within 200 years, you see that what happened, that a counter revolution took place. And after the demolition of Mauryan Empire, this Pusamita Sunga came in the power, and Brahmin rule was established. And Monu, that is his name was Sumati Bhargava, that we have discussed in our pamphlet and in our previous discussion also, taking reference of B.R. Ambedkar. You must have seen, or you if you go through our pamphlet, then you will see that. So Sumati Bhargava or Manu, when he composed Manu Smriti around 173 BCE, that within a very short time, that a counter revolution took place. And what Manu was saying, at the time of Manu, there were four burners. Four burners was there at the time of Kautilya. That was also there. But it doesn't mean that at that time of Kautilya's time, the Shudra did not considered, they were not considered as a slave. But at the time of Monu, within a very few years, few hundred years, that the slaves were excluded from the ruling class, or they were made as slaves. And that here also there is one another important difference. Here the all properties at the time of Kautilya, in Kautilyan system, all properties, be it land or cattle or any kind of state property, actually belong to the king. It was king's property. Why? Kautilya discussed that why it is king's property. Kautilya discussed that if it is not king's property, then no construction work or no development work can be possible. So state initiative is not possible. State economy is not possible. A large section was economy. There's a vast portion was a state sponsored or directly state economy, state owned. So this thing is not possible if all property belong to the king. So this, if it is not so, so that is why all properties belong to the king. But the thing is, king give the property to use to the several people, to the agriculturalist, that means that Shudra people or Vaishya people, or any kind of other form of properties, that he gives to use. But in the time of Manu, uh, Manu said very clearly that whatever exists in the world is the property of the Brahmana. On account of the excellence of his origin, the Brahmin is indeed entitled to all. So there is a very big difference when the all properties came in the hand of the Brahmins, and previously it was properties were in the hand of the king. So, a king having properties means that a king is, according to Kautilyan system, king is encouraging the economy. I will come to later the Kautilyan economy, that king is encouraging the economy. Economy means there are three types of three main bases of the economy. One is agriculture, another one is cattle rearing, and third is the trade. There are manufacturing also, but three main pillars were elaborated in Kautilyan system. These three. Apart from that, there are manufacturing, mining, many other aspects of the economy at the time of Kautilya. So, but when all properties came to the Brahmins, that Brahmins actually basically what they are doing, they are spending or consume no economy. Economy is not very much important in monoist structure or monoist system. Uh, just opposite was the case at the time of Kautilya. At the time of Kautilya, economy was the main thrust of the king's duty. there is very elaborated portion of Arthashastra regarding the king's duty. Here it is categorically written about the economy, but in Monu system you will not find that much emphasis on economy. So here what I was discussing, that excluding a section of population from the mainstream, here again Monu is saying that only one occupation only the Lord prescribed to the Shudra, to serve meekly even these three castes. So Shudra, they are they are considered as slave. They are considered as slave, and they have only one work, that is to serve very meekly. That is this line, or this using this word is very interesting. You have to serve meekly to the upper three castes. So you do not have any other occupation. But at the time of Kautilya, this system was not there, and they are having the independence and many other facilities also that Shudra people used to get. And if I go the duties of the Shudra uh, in Kautilyan system, you see there is a difference. How the difference is coming. The Kautilyan system also based on four burners. Four burners was there, but not like Manu system. Manu system, what I already said, that what is the task of the Sudra. But here it is said that duty of a Sudra are service to the twice born, that is there, or an economic activity such as agriculture, cattle rearing, or trade, or the profession of an artisan, or entertainer such as actor or singer. So a Sudra can be a singer, can be an actor, or he can be an artisan, he can be a trader, he can be a cattle rearer, or agriculture. So all these occupation a Sudra can could go at that time. But within a very few years, we are seeing that a whole scenario is changed. Ruling class at the time of Kautilya was Aryans. If you go through the Kautilyan system, you will see the ruling class was Aryan. But at the time of Manu, within a very few years, the ruling class Aryans are not ruler as such. The Brahmins and the Kshatriyas, these two sections, or the two varnas actually, these two varnas became the rulers. So you can say that most reactionary section of the ruling class, they have started rule. Their rule is started with the monotheist system, as it is being implemented by different kingdoms, different ruling system in India throughout 2000 years. So the most reactionary section of the ruling class, the rule was snatched by them. So this was one very interesting feature of monoism. And if I go through the second important thing, see the task of the king is very important. Both of the personalities, Kautilya and Manu, they dealt elaborately the task of the king. In the Manu system, you see that very much importance, sole importance I can say, is given to danda, means punishment, to keep the whole society in line with the Brahmin Kshatriya rule. Danda or punishment is becoming a very important subject, very important thing of the ruler. Even danda, or that punishment is being said that the danda itself is so powerful that it is more powerful than the king, more powerful than the king. So the state system is emerging. You know that state system was emerging. State system was also there at the time of Kautilya, but at that time, yeah, the state system was more democratic than Manu system. Manu system, you can say, that is the most reactionary state is coming out from the Indian soil, and danda is or dandaya or punishment is described as more powerful than the king. Why? Because it is said at in Manu that in 7th chapter, verse number 18, it is said that danda sasti praja sarva dando evabhirakhati danda supteshu jagarti dandang dharmang vidurguda. When everybody is sleeping, danda or punishment, danda is awake. So, differentiating danda or punishment from the king, the most reactionary nature of state emerged at the time of Manu. But if you go to the Kautilyan system once again, you will see that a Kautilyan economy, there is a main thrust of the king is to develop the economy. Why? Because it is being said that the treasury is very important. Treasury is very important for a king. If you do not have a treasury, you cannot do anything. Even treasury is ranked above the army. At the time of Manu, you will see that a power, be it danda or punishment or army, is a prime importance thing. And the economy is dependent on army. Economy is dependent on army. But at the time of Kautilya, just opposite was the case. Army was dependent on the economy. The treasury is ranked above the army because the army is dependent on finance. So this is a very important change of Indian ruling system, because here I have already said that economy, there are some aspects or some pillars of economy, that is agriculture or trade or cattle rearing, even mining or and manufacturing. There are some other aspects of economy also. So this economy is basically is the source of treasury, the royal treasury, and army is dependent on the treasury. But the just at the time of Manu, we will see that the treasury or wealth of a society or a king depends on the army, because the thrust of the economy was changed to the thrust of the plunder. So economy, a society based on economy and a society based on plunder. So these two, this change took place at the time of Manu. From Kautilyan system to Manuist system, these changes took place. So that we will see many important changes here. The highest level of exploitation, you will find that very highest level of exploitation started at the time of Manu. If you see the labor, if you study the labor at the time of Kautilya, you will find that the labor was considered as a contract. Labor was considered as a contract, and the employees or those who are working under you, those employees, they have some rights. At the time of Kautilyan system, they had these rights. What are the rights? An employee shall have the right, if he is ill, in distress, incapable of doing the work, or if the work is vile, the right is to have his contract annulled or to have it done by someone else. So when you have entered into a contract, then you have the right also to cancel the contract, and the conditions are also given. In this, under these conditions, under this situation, you can an employee can cancel the contract. But at the time of Monu, it was not possible. Monu, what Monu is saying? Monu is saying actually, Monu is treating the manual labor, which was basically given to the Sudra. Monu is considering them clearly slave. So what he said, a Sudra, though emancipated by his master, is not released from servitude, since that is innate in him. Who can set him from? Who can set him from it? So uh, a Sudra is a slave, and he or she has no right to cancel a contract. There is no question of contract. There is no question of contract. There is the service, because here Monu is saying that their duty is to serve, and that serve meekly. So no question of contract comes. No question of cancellation of contract comes, because if there is no contract, you cannot cancel the contract. You have to serve, and you have to serve meekly, and generation after generation. You have to do that. But in the Kautilyan system also there was slave. A Aryan cannot be a slave, but a non-Aryan, Mleccha, there are some other categories. They have their rights. But even a slave cannot be treated as a slave by generation. And most interestingly, a slave is treated as a slave for a particular job. When job is over, the slave is free. But at the time of Monu, you will see that a slave is always a slave, always a slave. But a Sudro, whether bought or unbought, he may compel to do servile work, for he was created by the self-existent Swayambhu. He was created by the Swayambhu to be the slave of the Brahmana. Monu, chapter 8, verse number 413. So he was created as a slave. So the religious doctrine, created means, there is some, we explained this at the time when we discussed Manusmriti at a length, that in our country, Smriti and Shruti combination took place. Because Smriti, this Monu wrote a Smriti book, that means law book. This Smriti was created by human beings. But this Smriti, it got the strength from its divinity. This divinity comes from the Shruti, that means the Vedas. So it is said very clearly in the Manusmriti that Swayambhu, Ishvara, created the Sudra as a slave to the Brahmana. So he cannot be freed from the his condition. So this is the thing. A Sudra, though emancipated by his master, is not released from servitude. Though he is emancipated by his master, then only, then also, even then, he cannot be released from his servitude. So this is the thing. And again, as a consequently, what comes? Consequently, you see that no collection of wealth must be made by a Sudra. Manu is saying in chapter 10, verse number 129. No collection of wealth must be made by a Sudra, even though he be able to do it. For a Sudra who has acquired wealth gives pain to Brahmanas. So this is monotheism. If you are a Sudra, if you are able to make money or make wealth or collect wealth, you cannot do it because collection of wealth or making money by a Sudra is a painful thing to the Brahmana. So so you cannot do it. So you see that what type of a notorious system started to emerge in Indian condition. So here we'll see again. If you go to the more democratic character of Kautilyan system, Kautilya he opens his treatise mm, very interestingly that a salutation to Brihaspati and Shukra, the gurus of the gods and the anti-gods, and the originators of the science of politics. In Kautilyan system or in a Kautilyan society, the uh, the salutation is given to the gurus of gods and anti-gods. You know that Brihaspati is the guru of the god, and Sukracharya, uh, it was according to the myth, uh, Sukracharya was the guru of the anti-god or demon or Rakshasa, whatever. So now the you can find the philosophical understanding of Chanakya or Kautilya that the gurus of he gives his salutation to the gurus of gods and anti-gods and the originator of science of politics, because these two they are the originators of science of politics. But at the time of Monu, you will see that most reactionary Brahminism started to take place, and uh, at the in the philosophical aspects, all the here Sukracharya, you know, Sukracharya is basically is associated with Charvaka philosophy or the ancient materialistic philosophy of our country. And here, if you come to the Manu system, the whole Brahminism is totally dominating, and idealism is totally dominating, excluding all type of progressive thinking, all type of materialist thinking or dialectical thinking, whatever. Uh, uh, Finish or they are attacking all this type of progressive thinking and Brahministic philosophy and Brahministic understanding and Brahministic divinity and Brahministic religion. All these things are very much dominating at the time of Monu. If you talk about the women, you will see that what is the mono-stake of the women that you must know that there is a very much discussed thing in the Indian perspective that women are very bad. They are, you know, uh, it is the nature. What he is saying, you listen. It is the nature of women to seduce men in this world. For that reason, the wise are never unguarded in the company of females. So this is the, Monu's take about the women, and Monu is prescribed to a total subjugation of women. So uh, Monu, her father protects her in childhood, her husband protects her in youth, and her sons protect her in old age. A woman is never fit for independence. So this is Monu's take. And when he is talking about the character of the woman, he said a lot of uh, heinous, sinister type of thing. That is, when creating them, Manu allotted to women a love of their bed, of their seat, and of ornament, impure desires, wrath, dishonesty, malice, and bad conduct. So all this character of women. So women are should be heavily controlled at that at her childhood. He should be controlled and protect means actually controlled by her father. At the time of youth, she must be controlled by her husband, and at the old age, he must be controlled by her sons. Because women is never fit for independence. Actually, we know very well that why he is saying so. He is saying so because women is the most powerful tool to break endogamy. Monoist system is totally based on institutionalization of four varnas: Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. A Shudra cannot marry a Brahmin. So marriage, intercaste or intervarna marriage was totally stopped, and severe punishment were allotted for these incidents that are intervarna marriage. So at the time of Manu's system, Manu is to protect his endogamy, because you know that his whole system based on this endogamy. So intervarna marriage he totally stopped by the severe punishment for this type of incident. But if you go to the Kautilyan system, if you study the Kautilyan system, you will see that at that time in Kautilyan system there are marriage between different varnas who are very much common, and the Onuloma and Pratiloma, where the husband is from the so-called higher varnas and wife from the so-called lower varnas. This was called as Onuloma. And opposite cases, when the wife is from so-called upper varna and husband is from so-called lower varna, that was called Pratiloma. This Onuloma and Pratiloma marriage was very much common at that time of Manu. And as a result, there were many transitional or in between. There are many varnas who are created, which in between Brahmin and Kshatriya and Vaishya and Sudra, Vaishya and Brahmin. There are a lot of mixing took place at the time of Kautilya, because women they used to get comparatively more freedom at the time of Kautilyan system. And if you come to the uh, you know that in Kautilyan system there is many type of 8 type of marriage. This 8 type of marriage, there was one type, it was called Gandharva marriage. And till today also, till today, there are this, according to the Shastra, when marriage is discussed, according to the Shastra, these 8 type of marriage were discussed. And one of the important type of marriage is Gandharva marriage, which was introduced by Kautilya at that time. And this Gandharva marriage is basically love marriage. Love between two individual, I mean that man and woman. It was very much common and possible, and it was recognized as an accepted method of marriage at the time of Kautilya. But at the time of Manu, there is no question of love, because all marriages were strictly controlled by the Varna system and the Varna arrangement. So there is no question of love at the time of Manu. But at the time of Kautilya, this system was there. Not only that, women, if you go through the women employment, this is a very important chapter of women employment at the time of Kautilya, that it was thought that women will work and they will be independent. So many, that many works uh, were actually reserved for women. That was the Kautilyan system. Uh, a sector of employment reserved for women, particularly those who had no other means of livelihood. That was spinning. Spinning basically is the job, basically was reserved for the women. But it doesn't mean that women were only restricted in spinning. They used to work in other sectors as well, especially they used to work in agriculture, and even the state controlled manufacturing and mining sector. But the thing is that spinning was basically reserved for the women. And you know that the list given under the Chief Textile Commissioner, the list means the list of the women, what type of women it was given. That list given under the Chief Textile Commissioner. Chief Textile Commissioner was there at the time of Kautilya. Kautilya is a very large bureaucratic system, and there the list says that widows, crippled women, unmarried girls, women living independently, women working of fines, mothers of prostitutes, old women, servants of the king, and temple dancers whose service to a temple has ceased. All these category, there are many categories of the women. There you can find that independent women, women living independently. And the Manu system, we have read that her father protects her in childhood, her husband protects her in the youth, and her sons protect her in the old age. So there is no question of independence. But at the time of Kautilyan system, you can understand from the women employment system, you can understand that comparatively much more democratic system of in case of the women question, and other question means that I have also already discussed the Varna question, Dalit questions. So more democratic type of society and the state structure you could find at the time of Kautilyan system. And women's property, whether at the we can say that in Manu system you can understand there is no question of property right of the women, but at the time of Kautilya, the women they had the property rights. That a wife's property consists of an amount of her support and her jewelry. The former shall be in the form of endowment of more than 2,000 panas. 2,000 panas, basically, that's one pana is equal to 1 rupee nowadays. So that amount of money wife could hold, and whatever she used to get from her father at the time of marriage, that is her property. Nobody can snatch it, or nobody can take it from her. And at the other question, that is unmarried girl, what we have just seen in the women employment case, unmarried girl and the independent women, there is no question of marital law is implemented, so they are holding independently, total independently they could hold. So this was the situation at the time of Kautilyan system, and I am not going details because a detailed discussion is very much important, and we are already in study to the Kautilyan system as such. But the thing is that we have to understand that today what we are talking about, the fascism today, see the RSS, they are saying that they want to replace our constitution by Manusmriti. Manusmriti, they want their constitution. So a political force which is based on Manuism, and this is their historical root and their historical emergence. So you can understand that this force could, there is the ample chance, and they have that potential to be to convert into the fascist force. That was not a very easy thing for any political party or political force. This is not a very easy thing to be a fascist force on that time. So here I will end here that what type of punishment here is allotted to the Shudra. You can find that in the one of the very important feature of fascism, that to eradicate or demolish all type of dissent or all type of different opinion. So here uh, we are finding it in the Manusmriti that if Dalit, a Dalit person or a Sudra, at that time Manu did not say anything about the Dalit, because at that time the concept of Sudra was there, not Dalit, because at that time mixing did not reach at that level when we can say the Dalit, because at that time Aryan and non-Aryan division was there. But the Sudra, they if they are uh, uh, if they are not enough obedient to the Brahmins, then what can be done? What punishment? What type of punishment was allotted at the time of Manu? That a once born man, once born means Sudra, once born man who insult a twice born man with gross invective shall have his tongue cut out, for he is of low. So if you insult, if you being a Sudro, if you insult a higher Badla people, then your tongue will be cut off. And if he mentions the names and caste of the twice born with contumely, an iron nail 10 fingers long shall be thrust red hot into his mouth. If he arrogantly teaches Brahmanas their duty, the king shall cause hot oil to be poured into his mouth and into his ear. So this type of severe punishment was allotted to the Sudras if it is found that they are not enough obedient. So this is one of the very important features of fascism, that it wants to eradicate or erase any kind of dissent or any kind of different opinion or any kind of rebellion or any kind of this thing. And but in the Kautilyan system, there is a very much very profound legal system at the Kautilyan system, and this source of law, Kautilyan system, the law depends on, there are four source of law. One is dharma, B is evidence, C is custom, D is the royal edict. These four sources of law at the time of Kautilya. Dharma means truth. Dharma means not religion. Dharma, this word was used different for different purpose at different time. So Kautilyan system, when the dharma word is used, then it meant that truth. So dharma is one of the source of law. Evidence was that a detailed discussion was there in Kautilyan system, that evidence says dharma and many things are there. So custom and the royal ethics. But if you go to the Manusmriti, you'll see that what type of you can see that what type of punishment and what kind of verdicts were given in the law book, and all it came from the wise men. It comes, the source of law in Manu system is the sermon of the wise men in the Vedas. That means Manu and or people like Manu. What they say, that is the law. But at the time of the Kautilyan society or Kautilyan state, there was more comparatively more democratic society we can find. Lastly, I will come to this point that one of the very important feature of fascism, today you are seeing that what BJP RSS is doing, that they are distorting the history. This distortion of history basically was one of the very important feature of fascism today. And if you study the history of Brahminism in our country, then you will find that those forces which are based on the monoism and at least the Vedas and the Vedantic philosophy or Advaita Vedanta philosophy, they are basically did the same thing throughout its history in our country, in the whole historical epoch. Uh, Say I am giving one example. Say when Charvaka said this Vedantic people, they used to say one thing and they said it repeatedly and many times. They said that the Charvaka and the Charvaka philosophers, they what they said that Javat Jivat Sukham Jivat Rinam Kritta Vritam Krivat. That means that uh, so long you will live merrily, and for this reason you can take ghee or grita. You can take even at loan. So this is their opinion. They said they propagated this thing as a Charvaka philosophy. But later we came to know that the original sloka of the Charvaka was not this. Original sloka was there. Java jivet sukham jive nasti mitturo gocharo vasibhutasya dehosya punaragamanam kuto. Java jivet sukham jivet nasti mitturo gocharo. So there is nothing. Uh, so long you will live merrily, because there is nothing which can escape death. Nasti mityu gochara. Vasibhutasya dehosya punaragamanam kuto. Once the body is burnt, then where from it will come back. So this is the basic materialistic philosophy of the Charvaka, which was totally distorted by the Vedantic people. And before going to the overall distortion of a whole entire materialistic philosophy, what they did, they uh, they attack physical attack took place at the time of Shankaracharya, and the whole philosophy, whole philosophical scriptures or philosophical manuscripts of the Charvaka philosophy or any heterotic philosophy, that was destroyed, and in that places they started propagating their own uh, 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 own made of their own false, and they were lying. So distortion of history, distortion of philosophy, distortion of what your opponents are saying, everything, that was a very important uh, feature of modern fascistic forces and fascistic rule, which you can find that throughout their history of Brahministic forces and sorry, throughout their history in our country, they did it repeatedly. So that is their heritage. They inherit this all these features. What I have very short I presented, and this made all these things made today's fascism, and modern fascism is based on in Indian context. Ideologically, it was based. It is that is why it is based on monoism, and monoism historically played an important tool, not only the tool, at the same time the basis, ideological basis of Indian fascist forces, and that a comparative study of Arthashastra we will go in much more detailed study we will go in future, and we will come out will a detailed write up and detailed booklet also, and as our study will take more and more deeper and clearer picture, then we will publish. So today, that much for today. Uh, Once again, red salute, and thanking you. Red salute to all of our audiences, and all comrades and all friends. Red salute to all. Thank you, Comrade Kabir.